كل التعليمات دي في التيكت او على الويب سايت. اهم حاجه ان الراكب يكون
Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, fellow council. You're very welcome to our panel, the insurance panel. We're very excited to be having this panel because of the topic, emerging trends in legal practice and, of course, particularly insurance law. My name is Francesca Kakoza. I'm standing in for our Chief Executive Officer, Alhaj Kadunabi Ibrahim Lubega. I'm the Director Legal and Secretary to the Authority, and I know that this afternoon we're going to have a very interesting discussion about insurance and, of course, emerging challenges and opportunities for you as council. I have a very brief presentation, which will then be, we will have a panel after that, at which we have very eminent speakers, very eminent counsel discussing the issue of insurance and practice and developments therein. And of course, they'll be discussing the challenges as well as the opportunities for the legal fraternity. And there's lots of opportunities for you as lawyers. So I would like to encourage you to really listen in and ask the questions that you've always had, but also get interested in the field of insurance, because this is where the future is. Someone once said that the only constant thing is change. But we are here to tell you, if you haven't been told, that the other constant change thing is risk, actually. In everything that we do, there is always risk. Just like change, even if it's your life, you're going to die probably tomorrow, you're going to get sick tomorrow, you're going to get into an accident, God forbid. But also you have livelihoods that you're trying to maintain, and in there also is risk. So we've got to look at what insurance buffers are available for us in the different areas and ensure that we actually insure our lives and livelihoods. So for this afternoon, we're here to talk about insurance law, emerging challenges and opportunities for legal practitioners. And I'll go directly into that presentation, firstly to tell you about the insurance sector and what we have achieved so far as a way of laying the context for this discussion and your interest, to really get your interest into the insurance sector, because there are so many opportunities here, and I'll keep repeating that. Next, please. Yes, so the presentation is just going to look at an overview of the insurance industry, look at the emerging trends and technologies, and of course, opportunities amidst the changes, and a call to action. I intend my presentation to be just 15 minutes as the precursor to the next panel, the exciting panel that you're going to have. Next, please. Okay. So Lloyd's of London, and I don't know how many of us know Lloyd's of London. It's not really a company, an insurance company or reinsurance company, but an insurance market where they are syndicated. We have parties coming together in syndicates to actually offer insurance products and insurance packages to different potential policy holders. So Lloyd's of London said that in their Lloyd's vision on the future of insurance, they said insurance is not just a product, it is a promise that in the face of uncertainty, stability can be maintained and the future secured. In a rapidly evolving society, this promise becomes more vital than ever. And I know that we've been in other sessions of the annual law conference and we've heard how things are changing, technology, cybersecurity, climate risk, disasters, etc. So much is changing, and like we've said, the only constant, the other constant next to change is actually risk. And so you need to ensure every part of your life and livelihood to ensure that you actually stay here forever or for good. Even if we can't insure you forever, but at least we can ensure the best years of your life. Next, please. So I'll just give you a snapshot into the insurance sector in Uganda, just for you to appreciate where we're coming from and where we are right now, even as we go into the panel discussion. The insurance industry is regulated by IRA, the Insurance Regulatory Authority, who were established by the Insurance Act 2017, now CAP 191. We started so many years ago as the Insurance Commission in the Ministry of Finance, but now we are the Insurance Regulatory Authority, an autonomous or semi-autonomous body that is here to regulate the business of insurance. The sector is still strong and resilient. We've achieved positive growth of over 12% over the last decade. That is since 2004, and actually even before that. We've been growing steadily, 12% today, but we are growing even more. So that should show you that there is lots of opportunity, because the growth curve is a very good one, but also there is lots of opportunities for everyone, including businessmen. It is majorly dominated by non-life insurance, though the relative share of life has been increasing consistently. And I'm hoping that we all understand what life and non-life insurance is. But if you don't, I know that one of our panelists, Paul Kavuma, will be speaking to this and telling you more about what non-life insurance is and its contribution to your life and your livelihood. So we've grown in the insurance sector. The life sector, the life segment is, of course, non-life is growing higher than life, but life is catching up, just like the rest of Africa. It's also catching up very much. But of course, we hear that in other jurisdictions, South Africa being one of them, life is very big there. So we know that life is also going to catch up, and we'll have more of you insuring your lives as well as your loved ones. So there's been a lot of growth in particular products. Microinsurance products are growing. As you know, most of our economy, at least most of our people, are low-income earners. We have that particular products growing, microinsurance growing very much and at a fast rate, because those are the micro products now that we give to, say, border riders, to any other low-income people, the kind of products that they can afford. So microinsurance it's moving very much. And of course, as regulators, we are looking at that particular segment very much, and we'll soon be coming out with regulations to regulate microinsurance. Then, of course, we've had a rise of digital platforms, and that is not just coming out of the blue. It's coming out of the whole growth in the whole movement in technology and the new things that are coming up in the technology field and area, especially as they contribute into insurance and our product development as well as underwriting. Then, of course, there's been a lot of leveraging on big data and AI. We've had a conversation at our lunch table about AI and how it's going to affect you as lawyers, but also even us in the insurance sector. We are seeing a lot of AI being used in underwriting, in product development, as well as pushing out of products, insurance products, to the public. So as a regulator, we've adopted risk-based supervision. And what that means is that whereas before we were on compliance, we gave out all those compliance requirements and everyone was supposed to adhere to the same compliance regime, now we are going risk-based. We are looking at your risks and then saying this is the kind of compliance, or these are the kinds of things, or kind of capital you're supposed to have, or kind of governance structure you're supposed to have. So that is going to be tagged to the kind of risks that an insurer is exposed to. So risk-based supervision is already with us, and for you as lawyers, I really encourage you to get interested in that so that you're able to advise your clients on the compliance requirements in RBS. Next, please. So the insurance sector or industry, like any other, is not without challenges. We have our challenges, but they are not insurmountable challenges. And with the innovation and the innovative mandate of the regulator, we're very sure that we will overcome those challenges. One of them is law awareness. There is not very low, but it is still low awareness, especially in the rural areas, for insurance and its benefits to your lives and livelihood. But as IRA and as the insurance sector, we've done a lot towards creating awareness for all in the and of course risks of agriculture, drought, floods, etc. So there's not our problem only. It's really a problem of the financial services sector. We want to include everyone in the financial services sector. Whereas we are looking at banks saying they want everyone to be banked, on our side we're saying we want everyone to be insured, because insurance is one thing that you need in your life. Of course, the other challenge is regulatory gaps, and that's not, I won't say it's on us as IRA, because there's a lot of work being done to identify those regulatory gaps and ensure that we are filling them. Whereas we don't have microinsurance regulations yet, they are in the pipeline, actually advanced stages, but we have microinsurance guidelines that guide the sector on how to do business in microinsurance, sell the products, but also the underwriting regimes. There are many opportunities for you as lawyers. And we have an expanding middle class. We have a lot of interest, of course, in insurance and its benefits. COVID-19, as lawyers, I think really demonstrated to us the importance of having health insurance, for example, but also life insurance. We had a lot, we lost a lot of our colleagues in that pandemic. And the one question that everyone was asking is, haven't lawyers buttressed themselves? We are supposed to be the cream of the society. So let us buttress ourselves with these insurance products. They are not expensive. You can afford them. And there is an expanding middle class that you can actually tap into as lawyers. There's a real sector that's looking for insurance products. You as lawyers can join us in this sector, in the insurance sector, give your legal services, convince others to take on products, but also take on insurance products. Of course, digital innovation is a critical one. And like in every sector, we too are affected. We have a lot of our insurers and players leveraging a lot of mobile technology to deliver their products, and also doing a lot of strategic partnerships with mobile companies to be able to deliver insurance products. Next, please. Okay, so that is the sector. I've concentrated so much on the sector because we tend to see a mixed reviews about insurance. Most people don't understand the sector. Maybe we need to reduce the opaqueness or opacity of the insurance sector, but we just need you to understand the opportunities in here. Like I said earlier, this is a growing sector, 12% over the last decade. But as you can see, in terms of gross written premiums, we've been growing since 2018. 2018, we were at 855 billion. Now we are at 1 trillion and growing even more. And like we've said, with the rollout of microinsurance products, there are also new things that are coming in. Takaful insurance is coming in. With a rollout of all those, I am sure that number is going to increase in the next few years to over 20 or more trillion. In terms of insurance penetration, down there, we're not doing very well, but also it's really mixed. We are doing well, we are not doing well. For the kind of economy that we have in Uganda, we are doing well, because when you compare to the rest of Africa, I think Kenya is at 2% or less. South Africa should be the highest in Africa, but they're also not doing, they don't have above 10%. So with Uganda and our economy with the 0.8, we are not doing badly, and we shall get there. So those are the statistics for the industry. As you can see, it's a very healthy industry. But also, I want to draw your attention to the gross claims paid out. I know one of the things that we keep hearing is the insurers don't want to pay claims. But you will agree with me that over the last few years, we have really changed. The sector has changed. There is now that willingness to meet with you as clients and ensure that claims are paid. So we have grown. If you look at the numbers there from 2018, when we were at 387 million, now we are at 820 and growing even more. So we as the regulator, we are very big on consumer protection, and we've established the Complaints Bureau exactly for that. If your insurer is not paying you and you really feel you have valid reasons why you should be paid, your policy says something, come to the Complaints Bureau at IRA and we'll be able to actually assist you and ensure that those claims are paid. But of course, we also don't just give rulings that they pay. No, we have to balance. We have to ensure that you're actually entitled to those payments and that the insurer is actually liable. Next, please. This should be my my fourth last slide. Now, having given you the context of the insurance sector and how much we've grown, the opportunities that are there, I now come to the topic of today, what we are talking about, the changes, the challenges, the opportunities in the sector. As you know, we've already been told the legal practice cannot stay constant in a changing society. We have to reinvent ourselves and actually add value to our clients. We can no longer be the ones that do the value we add to our clients is just going through contracts, drafting contracts, or representing our clients in court, or those kinds of the traditional legal practice. We have to reinvent ourselves to make sure that we're actually giving value to our clients. And you'll listen to one of our panelists later on speaking about disaster risk insurance and of course legal practice and how you can tap into that. Those are the things that your clients want you to do, especially in the insurance sector. We want you to talk to us about those emerging trends, the new things that actually keep us awake at night. That's where we want you lawyers to actually come in. So it's a changing society. And of course, like the normal legal practice, insurance law has not stayed constant either. So again, like we're saying, with the societal changes that are happening, as I'll go very quickly into them, the law of insurance has also changed or has to change, as well as the practice of insurance law. All have to change to align to the changing society. Next, please. Okay. So just a few things, and I know we've talked about technology. We keep talking about technology, and you'll hear from one of our panelists about how it has actually impacted the insurance sector. So even us in the insurance practice, IRA, as well as insurance law, there's been lots of advancements, and of course technological advancements on insurance law are very prevalent, and you as lawyers need to understand how you can fit into that segment and advise on technology and its effect on insurance business, but also how we develop our products. So some of the things I've already talked about, those AI and big data. We've talked about how insurers are actually using AI to develop products, to deliver products, but also customer experience. You know, they're understanding the way that clients, the risks that are involved in a client's business, for example, the things that the client likes doing, and they're going out now to use that intelligence that has been picked by AI to actually sell customized insurance products. The other thing is blockchain, and I'm certain that we've heard about blockchain because ULS put on a training on blockchain technology and how smart contracts are going to be the next thing, or are the next thing. I don't know if they've arrived in Uganda, but they're the next thing. So now we will not require you to draft contracts for us because we have blockchain. And so you need to reinvent yourselves to understand what blockchain is, but also be able to advise about the risks involved in there for your clients, but also how your clients can then utilize those opportunities brought about by blockchain. Of course, there are legal challenges in these developments, and those are not the only technological advancements. There are so many others. There's the Internet of Things, there's so many things, but there are legal challenges in those. And there's issues of data privacy and protection. For example, if you send your AI, I don't know what they are called, systems to me to study my ways and my way of doing things so that you can give me your products. It's really picking information about me, sometimes private information that's not supposed to be out there. So issues of data privacy and protection will come in, and we need you as lawyers to come in there to actually advise on those issues. The other one is regulation of emerging insurtech companies. Insurtech is to insurance like fintechs are to the rest of the financial services sector. So these insurtechs are coming up. Of course, they will need a lot of guidance from you on data privacy and protection, but also how to protect their IPs, how to protect the content that they develop, and many other things that they are going to need. So you need to involve yourselves and understand how will these insurtechs actually require your legal skills, so that you don't wait for them to come to you to ask you to defend them, but you go in there actually to help them manage their legal risks downstream before we get to litigation. Of course, ensuring compliance in a tech-driven landscape can also be hard because of those issues of data privacy and protection, and many other issues that you need to look at in terms of compliance. So we have the Data Privacy and Protection Act, and we are also coming up with various guidelines on technology platforms and really technology and use of technology in our insurers and players. So there's going to be a lot of requirement for you to actually guide in those areas. Next, please. The other area, of course, is globalization and cross-border insurance. As the world becomes even more of a global village, we started already to become a global village. There's business transactions moving across countries and across jurisdictions. There are insurance products that are being sold from Europe down here to Uganda. And there are many other, of course, we have global companies that are here but established elsewhere but have come to do business in Uganda. All that is going to be opportunities for you as lawyers. But especially, there are going to be jurisdictional complexities, especially in areas where, for example, we're giving an example there, a Ugandan policy holder has a policy with an insurer in you as a lawyer going to get involved and advise on such policies unless you actually understand insurance law but have also interested yourself in the business of your client. So those jurisdictional complexities are going to weigh in very heavily. Of course, harmonization of laws is another issue that is that we are going to require. Already we have in the insurance sector, we have the East African Insurance Supervisors Association. It's already moving to harmonize the laws across East Africa, insurance laws. Already we have an East African insurance policy, and we are now moving ahead to see, to come up with an East African Insurance Act, but also other regulations that are going to fall under there. So already, as you can see, there's the harmonization of laws in East Africa has started. But also we have the AFCTA that's coming to create a single market across Africa for goods and services. Of course, one of those services is insurance. And there's going to be a lot of requirement for harmonization of laws across Africa, because you're going to have someone in Uganda, a policy holder in Uganda, probably getting an insurance product in Nigeria, for example. I'm just giving an example, because of the business, because of the cross-border business that they are doing. So the harmonization of laws is something that is very it's very upcoming, not upcoming, but it's something that's already with us and needs to be done. And of course, we will require you as lawyers to weigh in there and see how do we support the AFCTA to be effective, first of all, in delivery of all other services, but also particularly in where insurance is concerned. Of course, the opening up of the global village, the opening up of the continent comes with issues of compliance. Not just for insurers, but also for the other financial services providers, but also for your clients that have insurance policies, you know. So all those are compliance issues where you can actually weigh in and give your value, as well as cross-border insurance disputes, which are already with us. Let's go. We've already talked about climate change and insurance law. I think the issue of ESG has been drummed down our throats so much, but the thing with most of us as lawyers, and actually most of us in Uganda, is that we are taking those things lightly, and yet they are very, very critical. ESG is very critical, and your clients will need you to advise on these things. Climate risk is already with us. You've seen the disasters, you've seen the floods already, okay, as we experienced them in Bududa, but there are also many other disasters that are happening across the continent and to your clients. So with these disasters comes then the requirement for insurance, okay? They've got to ensure, to at least ensure that they are buttressed once a disaster happens. Then at least they are buttressed. One of our panelists will be talking to you about disaster risk, like I said before. But also, it makes me think about our people and some of our land friends that were involved in the Chitezi slides. I'm not certain how many were insured. Maybe we need to find out. But imagine what insurance would have done in such a context. Because if they had insured, actually, insurance would then come in to make to ensure continuity for our people. But also, that's not the only disaster happening in Uganda. There are many others that happen and might happen. So how do we, insurance, of course, is very big in there, because that is risk that we can actually insure those people against. But then as you as lawyers need to actually understand insurance and be able to advise on these things, okay? There's an example there of, if you want to understand the magnitude of climate change and disasters and what they can do and what insurance actually does. The recent Turkey earthquake, I think they happened last year. Insurance companies paid out over $43 billion in claims. So you can understand what happens then, in that we need to, as insurers, of course, that now brings in issues of improving their underwriting practices, because you're going to take on a disaster. I'm just giving an example. Maybe not, let me not give Chitezi, but say a mudslide somewhere, happens, and you've insured these people. You might not have anticipated all the risks, and then the risk happens, and the magnitude of claims coming out of there actually overwhelms you. So what that calls for to us insurers is to ensure then that we come up with better underwriting practices that are able to assess the risk effectively in those disasters, and in whichever risk anyway that we are underwriting, so that we're able to anticipate the risks and be able to bear the liability that comes with the loss event when it happens. Now, of course, as lawyers, again, those are areas for you to come in and understand insurance, understand the emerging trends, understand that climate risk is with us already, and the insurers need you. But then how do you position yourselves to then advise in such cases? But not just the insurers, remember, the clients as well. Like we said earlier on, we have a growing middle class that actually is very ready and has a high appetite for insurance products. How will you then advise them? These are your clients in business entities, your clients in Makerere University. I'm looking at Dr. Fiona for that, for the building that burnt. Those are all your clients, You need to be able to advise them so that they anticipate this risk and be able to buttress themselves against it. And the next one should be my last slide, the other growth that we are seeing, emerging trend. Okay, of course, I think this one I don't even need to go so much into it. The evolving regulatory environment is with us, has always been with us. Once the global village started, laws keep changing, international standards keep changing. For us in the insurance sector, we have IFRS 17 that keeps Paul awake at night. But IFRS 17 is there with us, and there are so many standards that are changing internationally. But beyond that, there are also regulations changing out there. And of course, if your clients are in Uganda but within a global setup, then they would have to adhere to those international regulations. So it is very critical that we as lawyers actually understand the changes that are happening, in particular for insurance, but for all the other segments or sectors where you're advising your clients, so that then you can advise them to comply. Because with us in the highly regulated sectors, the banking, the insurance, you either comply or you go extinct, because we will revoke the license. So you need to be able to advise your clients that way. Next, please. And I hope lastly. Okay. So this one is last but not least, and it should have come number one, but we put it at the end: consumer protection. For those that have dealt with the IRA or the Insurance Regulatory Authority, you know how big we are on consumer protection, because our mandate is not just stability of the sector, but also consumer protection. We have to make sure that you as a policy holder, when you come and get a policy in the insurance sector or from any insurer, your rights are actually protected. So we are very big on consumer protection, and actually very soon for the insurers and you lawyers that are advising insurers and those in the insurance sector, we will come up with the regulatory framework for consumer protection. So that is coming, and what it is intended to do again is to protect that policy holder, to ensure that once you give the insurers, or you give us your money, you remember we said it's a promise. Once you give us your money, we are actually there to be your friend in need. When the loss event happens, when you get sick, when you get incapacitated, when your car gets an accident, when your business premises catch fire, or thieves come and rob you of all and sundry, we are there to actually be your friend in need. And that's what insurance is. So consumer protection is not an emerging trend. It has always been there. But here in Uganda, we are very big on it as IRA, and will continue to actually enforce rights of consumers. So once again, of course, with consumers in the sector, there are ethical challenges, there are issues. Of course, there's a lot of fraud going on in the sector as well, which we are fighting as lawyers. But also we note that some of you lawyers actually advise your clients amiss in terms of claiming from the insurance sector. I don't know if it's intended or unintended, but we realize that you actually assist them to do some of the unethical practices. But what I'm here to then stamp is that you need to be there to actually ensure that all these ethical challenges in the sector are removed and you don't contribute to them. But you also need to be advising your clients on how to make claims, what documentation is required, not the false documentation, but the real documentation, and also advising them and anticipating the needs of the insurer so that you're able to advise them on the kinds of documentation that they'll need in the claims process. Lastly, okay, so this is my last slide, and this was also intentional to point you now to the opportunities in the legal profession. Remember, what we're talking about this evening is not just the changes, but also what opportunities come with these changes. And those are some of the opportunities for you as legal professionals in the insurance sector. Now, before I even go to those for you as legal practitioners, there are so many opportunities for you in terms of business. And the panel will be talking to them as they discuss with you. There's lots of opportunities for you to actually come and become insurance agents, come and do, so come and start one and come and play in the sector. So there's lots of business opportunities. But then for legal practitioners, we have the advisory roles. Like we're saying, there's a growing need for legal advice on compliance. Every insurer will tell you that IRA and compliance, I think we are raining hard on them. And we have to for the stability and growth of the sector. And so they need your guidance on compliance. How do they comply? How do they ensure that what IRA wants is actually what they have provided? But also beyond that, for you to read the regulator's mind, because I've given you some of the snippets. We are going to come up with consumer protection guidelines. But we also have microinsurance regulations coming out. We have Takaful coming in. So how do you create value for these insurers as you actually advise them? The other one is innovative legal frameworks. I think this is more for us as the regulators. We've recently carried out a project to identify regulatory gaps. We went to the industry and key stakeholders to pick up where they think regulatory gaps are. And we already have a dossier of regulatory gaps. And so you need to be able now to link into the mind of the regulator and understand where the regulator is going so that you can then advise your clients very well. But even us as regulators, there are many things that we are coming up with, developing and innovating for the sector. And we need you as legal practitioners to actually give us the advice, add value to us, and not just in the insurance sector, but in the whole financial services sector. Of course, collaboration with insurtechs, like we've said, fintechs are not the only ones that are growing. We have many insurtechs coming up, and you'll be listening to our technology guru later on the panel. You'll be listening into him on the kinds of insurtechs that we've come up with, but also the changes in technology. And of course, lastly, career growth, expanding growth for lawyers. Like we've said, with all these emerging changes, with all these emerging developments, there's a lot of career opportunities for you to actually come into the insurance sector. Paul, allow me to give you as an example one of our lawyers who's the CEO to Jubilee Allianz. He's a lawyer, but I also know many other lawyers in the insurance sector that are actually at the helm of global insurance companies. So there's a lot of career opportunities for you. Come and join us. For the young lawyers, there's lots of opportunities here. At least allow me to make this joke. At least here you will get paid effectively. That is a joke. It's a joke. I don't mean it at all. I know that private practice pays you very well. Yeah, so there are many opportunities. Like a recap of key challenges. We have in technology, regulation, and environment, and we shall need you there. And so, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, I would like to really ask you to listen in to the panel that we have today. We have a very rich panel that's going to speak to you about the emerging changes as well as opportunities for you. My CEO always ends with a quotation, ends his speeches with a quotation, so I will not do him injustice by not giving one. The bet the future is to create it. I know all of you know Peter Drucker, so they create it. So listening to the emerging changes so that you can identify opportunities for you to grow yourselves. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that I've provided context to our panel this afternoon, and I know that you're going to enjoy it. Let me now invite my colleague Shadia Nakamanya to give you more information about the panel this afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please join me in thanking Francesca, who is representing the CEO of the Insurance Regulatory Authority, for that powerful presentation that has set the tone right for our panel discussion that is going to be the next session. Thank you very much, Francesca, for opening the doors and the doors to this particular conversation that we are going to have this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me, in the interest of time, to invite our panelists. Our panelists have a huge wealth of CVs, but in the interest of time, let's summarize them as brief. We have our first panelist is Ruth Sebatindira, Senior Counsel, and she's a former president of the Uganda Law Society and the co-founder of LegalMark with over 20 years of experience in legal practice. She has.
So you need 2 days for someone to do that. They will write a report for another 2 days. They will send the report to the insurance company. Then the lawyers at the insurance company will look at the report and draft a contract. That's another 3 or 4 days. Then the payment must take, the journeys to the bank, and all, that's another 2 or 3 days. So you basically are talking about more than 7 days, more than a week for just one insurance consumption. And that cannot withstand if you then don't have insurance coming in. Now, I want to point you to what we currently have in the market now. If I use the example of a house, let me bring it to a vehicle. That's what most of us work with. The process of insurance of a vehicle, again, requires that similar setting. I must assess the risk, I must have the policy, I must pay for it, and if there is a claim, I must go and have this claim managed in another way. So right now, one of the products that we run with the regulator here is the motor third-party platform. I don't know if you are a vehicle owner in here, you must have noticed that for you to consume motor third-party insurance in this market now, you get to your phone, in a matter of seconds, you hit your 165 or 185 on your mobile money. You are requested to enter your vehicle registration number, and all you're doing is once you enter that vehicle registration number picks up the details, the system picks up the details of the vehicle registration number, goes out, checks what kind of vehicle is this, is it for private use, is it for commercial use, how many people does it carry, and then it does all that underwriting in split seconds and comes back to you with the price and says you pay 70,000 shillings. This is in less than a minute. Now, the moment you make that payment, you're receiving a reference saying to you, go to any insurer or any agent and then get your sticker, basically your consumption of insurance completed. Now, that's the process now, but in the future, in a few months to come, you'll be seeing that changed into you can actually complete it on your own without going to visit any other place. So the point I am making here is from days, from weeks, you can actually, with the advent of technology, be able to make a consumption of insurance in under a minute. Now, that obviously changes your customer experience. It changes the efficiencies that it brings it with. It makes those changes. It makes your life better, and your consumption of insurance definitely is a much better experience.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that. Maybe my follow-up question would be, is our industry ready for the technology, and those that have embraced it, how are they applying it, and how is it improving their efficiency as well?
So again, to the example that I used, I've talked about efficiencies, I've talked about better customer experiences. So I'll not use a lot of tech language, but let's think of I am based in Arua. I would like to consume insurance. Most insurance companies operate, quote unquote, in Kampala. That's where the biggest business is. So will I be excluded? If I am going to really use the traditional way of doing insurance, it would mean I would have to get onto a bus, come to Kampala, present my credentials in terms of what I want to consume insurance for, and then that process will take me days and the costs attributed to it. But with insurance, we actually now have systems out there. I see banks using them. I see insurance companies using them. Those are systems that we've developed, that we've provided to the industry. I am based in Arua. I get onto a platform. I pick up the details of what I want to insure. If it's a vehicle, I'll take pictures of it. I will do a submission at the insurance company. They will receive that data that I have submitted in real time. They will make an approval. I will receive a reference. I will make a payment there, and then the insurance company will confirm receipt of its money, and an auto-generated policy is released to my email. Now that's the part that I want us to pay attention to, the auto-generated policy, because the policy is the contract. Previously, we would have needed a lawyer to have received those documents, looked at them, signed somewhere. Now, there is no lawyer. The policy is auto-generated. It is specific. It speaks to the actual details that have been entered. So for me, that's an area that the legal fraternity needs to pick interest in, on how they can exploit on some of those efficiencies that are being created.
Yes, thank you so much, Joseph. The next area for discussion is going to be to Dr. Fiona to provide an insight on the evolution of insurance law and the emerging challenges.
Thank you very much. Looking at what has changed, first of all, as Francesca already alluded, we have had a lot of change in terms of how the industry is looked at. So as a lawyer, we are looking further than licensing, making sure you have a license as an insurance company, to looking at how you're behaving in the market conduct, consumer protection related issues being the major areas where we are seeing changes under the new operational framework. So for lawyers to be aware of those changes, and also the governance framework, the fact that there is more requirement in terms of how insurance companies are running their business, how the agents and brokers are running their business. So we are seeing changes in that area that require legal skill. Lots of regulations. I think from about 2020, we've had lots of regulations coming in, directives from the IRA. So I think there are changes which lawyers would be very well placed to be able to deal with. The other is in terms of dispute resolution. Wider avenues have been provided for dispute resolution beyond just the courts, We have dispute resolution happening in the tribunal so that grievance mechanisms are settled easier and faster. The other is in claims. Value of claims, I think, has gone much higher. I'm sure the experts can speak to that even better. 10 or so years ago, we were seeing claims, large claims being $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. But with the kind of business that's going on, infrastructure developments, dam construction, etc., we are seeing claims that are going up in the millions of dollars. So that's something else that creates opportunities for lawyers.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sheenah, for that insightful and rich history in how the different insurance laws have emerged over time and their impact and implications. From her submission, you realize that it also creates opportunities for the legal fraternity that we can pick a leaf from. My next question is going to be to Senior Counsel Ruth to kindly address the legal challenges in the insurance industry, focusing on disaster risk and consumer protection. I think Francesca in her presentation clearly highlighted the issue of disaster risk being an eminent risk that as the insurance industry we need to put a keen eye to and address for future reference.
Thank you. Am I audible? Yeah. I first came into contact with disaster or understanding of disaster, and I'll come to the insurance part of it shortly, about 2013. Am I loud? Oh, okay. We're good? Haro? 2013, 2014, known as President Law Society, I think we experienced the Bududa, and I think it's an annual event, Bududa mudslides and Kasese floods. And at that time, I had never appreciated, the magnitude of risk, but because we had the need to then provide legal aid services in those communities, it just dawned on me, how you'd wake up when your life has turned upside down because of a disaster, sometimes well known to governments or sometimes not. So and I was asking people upstairs to look for my article. I penned an article back then, 2014, to the New Vision to say, when I read the Constitution, there's Article 249, which requires that we should have a disaster management and preparedness commission 10 years ago. So it might be that is the reason why Francesca thinks I know about disaster. So I'm here to share the little insights I may have about disaster and disaster risk management. And the next time I come into contact with disaster and how it can affect business is when I was managing Uganda Telecom. Telecoms, as you know, it's the wires in the air, the poles. You wake up, a pole has fallen, or poles have fallen in various parts of the country because of wind, floods, and all manner of disasters. And then UTL was a shareholder in a submarine cable company. I came to learn that the whales were also eating our fiber. That is a disaster. And recall I was running an insolvency company. So I could not afford insurance. I could not afford catastrophe insurance. So I said, businesses could actually collapse. No? Mine had reached near collapse, so I was not going to die twice. But you could imagine that you'd wake up when a telecom cannot deliver services because a whale has eaten a submarine cable, and that in and of itself is disaster. So there are many elements how businesses will suffer from all manner of disasters, but the one I can speak to is that experience I got from Uganda Telecom, and the need then, of course, to take out various insurance policies depending on your needs, on your disaster needs as a business. Not to mention, of course, as a homeowner, as a business owner. For example, law firms, are we thinking about, God forbid, disaster may strike when your managing partner must go? Are you taking out key man insurance? Is that the correct term? Key personnel insurance. A cyber attack, are we taking out cyber insurance? So all these things are related to disaster risk and management. But the Chitezi scenario, I think, brought back, you know, the sense of urgency around disaster. Countries and I think now regional corporations have city resilience, for example. Did KCC ever think about a city resilience insurance? That in and of itself is a disaster risk reduction program for cities around the world. So some of these things, it's about planning. Maybe our planning authorities or city authorities need to think about how cities will manage disasters. Kampala floods, I think, every other month, whenever it rains. Some of us sit in office, wait till midnight, because then, you know, now the water has gone down, now I can go. But then you're not a productive citizen, yeah? But so how then do cities recover from those disasters? Are there funds, are there budgets that that cities have paid premiums to different programs to recover from these disasters, or to actually manage these disasters? And cities aside, but how about nations? I think there is an African risk facility for African continents. I think it's an initiative of the African Union. I don't know whether Uganda is a member, but these are things that states now need to think about to ensure all of us against some calamities that will befall us. So, but these come in the budgets. The national budgets should set aside funds to pay these premiums to these programs, to, let's say, Africa risk reduction facilities, so that when we face a disaster as a whole nation, an earthquake can come. The example of the Turkey example has been shown, 43 billion euros. But it could easily have been that the state would even have met it had they been paying these premiums to a certain facility. The World Bank has a disaster reduction facility. There's all kinds of facilities. There's even regional facilities. I'm not sure about the East African community, whether we have a disaster reduction, rather management facility. But risk pooling regionally is one of those things that states need to think about, you know, as a block. SADC, COMESA, those things can be done at state level. So for now, I think I could stop there. Those are my initial insights.
Okay, and thank you, Ruth. I will get back to the issue of disaster risk. It's an interesting one. But let me just invite Paul to give us an insight on the different offers from the industry perspective on navigating the regulatory challenges and also the growth opportunities that are within the insurance sector.
Thank you, Shadia. Really, ours as insurers, we are never bashful about opening a statement that we have a legacy hangover. And anybody who knows what a hangover means would relate to it. There's this allusion or tag to us that we don't pay claims, and we are doing our best to dispel it. And I think Francesca has done a very good job to show the performance of the industry in terms of the premiums that we write and the claims that we pay back. And I can say that the opportunities do present themselves, and insurance is now a lifestyle. In the wallet, we are competing with space for the debit card, so you'll find a medical card. On the car bumper, vehicle bumper, you will find a Budonian sticker. I'm a proud Budonian. Then you'll find a sticker of an insurer. We are competing for that space as well. Now, to put it into perspective, we have a very robust and regimental regulatory framework. I'm choosing my words very carefully here, not because we are into the license renewal and my regulators are here to smoothen my path, but I have to be honest. It is very robust, it is very regimental, and it speaks to you, the consumers, because it is out to protect you. I mean, we have a host of regulations within the Insurance Act, you know, right from solvency and protecting your capital to market protection. And ultimately, that only speaks to you, the client. And we all know that once you're compliant and you have full governance, then the business will come to you naturally. Because anybody who wants to get protection and insurance will have to look for a solid company. So I can vouch for the rest of the members that we are all solid, as none of us has been suspended. And that speaks to the sort of growth that we've had. If the economy of Uganda is growing at 6% and we are posting a growth of 12%, I think we ought to tap ourselves on the back. And it is you who are giving us the business. I can say before COVID, we were unsung heroes nobody really knew what insurance was about. You knew, but you didn't take cognizance of it until we started paying the COVID medical claims. And also getting testimonials from people who had endowment policies and saying I've cashed on them to get myself a cash cushion because I'm not earning. And then we've seen an acceleration of life and medical, which presents an opportunity for you. Now, what's it for you, the lawyers? Usually, insurance and law is water and oil. You don't mix, because surprisingly, I'm sitting next to my two sisters here, and they were shocked that I actually went to law school. I won't say that I chose another profession. I won't say decent profession, but anyway, we are issuing all risks policies unless excluded, and the exclusions is fodder for the lawyers. The lawyers will then have on us to investigate and interpret the exclusions. So for me, that presents a very good opportunity for you. And to put it into perspective as well, when the industry grows, we've talked about the large infrastructure projects. Lawyers will, a contractor will have a banker, a contractor will have a lawyer. At the tail end of the discussions, they'll then bring in an insurer because they want to protect themselves against risk. But unfortunately, then the insurer also has their own criteria of looking at your policy, looking at your risk. Because I have to have the appetite for your risk, and then I will put in the exclusions. Now, that is where the push and tug comes in. But what we want to say is, as professionals, we can work together. When you are actually crafting these agreements, these contractual obligations, get the insurers involved so that the exclusions are within that contract and everybody knows what we are about. So in a nutshell, the environment it's difficult to do business, I must say, on an ordinary day, one insurer, but the regulatory environment has actually enabled us to make sure that we are solid and we present ourselves as sanitized players for you to give us your risks so that you can go home happy and knowing that you can sleep happy with your risks secured. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thank you for bringing the relation between lawyers and insurers. And maybe on that note, I would have a follow-up question on how would you advise the legal fraternity to mitigate personal and business risk through insurance?
Insurance now is a lifestyle, and to be honest, it's the only civilized thing you can do for yourself. As lawyers, your craft really is to represent your clients ably, and where we can work together and what presents an opportunity for us initially is to give you the professional indemnity policy. That then dispels your fears and your clients' fears against your professional mistakes and professional negligence. That is already an opportunity for us. But for you to come to us as well, we have policies for you. We have the office risks, whereby your entire array of risks within the policy and personnel can be insured. It goes in as far as also looking at consequential loss. In the event that you have a premise and it's scattered by fire, you have to get alternative space. We have, policy extensions that will cover you for that. Now, on the livelihood and your person and, family, we have what we call the life and non-life, and most especially the life, where I'll dwell a little bit more. Life. And we all know we have dependents who are dear to us. The only civilized thing we can do is to make them comfortable. We know the sort of changes that we have now, so it is only fair that we work hard for them and also leave, some beneficiary policies for them. Now we also have the endowment policies that have an investment portfolio on them. It is easier and more profitable to save with an insurance company than a bank, because for the insurance company, you are certain you will collect your principal amount plus bonuses and investments, and you tie it long term, and then you can't touch the money, which is an advantage. And of course, like I said, for the property, you'll have your personal injury covers, all that will fall into play. What then also presents opportunities for you is when we are practicing as insurers, we of course expose ourselves to risk, and claims management is one of them. So ultimately, a claims process can be a difficult situation. So more often than not, before we go to the tribunal, a client might involve a lawyer to make things even more difficult. But at the end of the day, it is all about getting equity. And one thing we've also noticed lately is with the new regulatory framework, there is a tendency to see that if you can't survive as an insurance company under the new risk-based supervision, we are going to see an emergency of mergers and acquisitions. So anybody in that field, anybody in that expertise, I can assure you it will be a mindful for you to, make some decent living. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Paul, maybe to Ruth, just kind of give us an insight in respect to professional indemnity for lawyers and the benefits of taking on such a policy for purposes of business continuity.
Oh, thank you. We have annually taken out professional indemnity as a law firm, not by choice. The clients are saying, for you to stay on this panel, we need the PI covering this much. I think is it 3 billion or 3.5? And so you go shopping. So so maybe come to soon if you have a good deal. But you see where the market is going. The clients are saying, guys, insure yourselves. That's where the market is going. And you may think it's just corporations, but the culture will rub on many of the clients that you want, whose business you want. So the first question is now to think about whether your cash flows will allow you to put aside that premium year on year and be able to meet that requirement. Of course, there are certain times we've asked clients, you asked me to take out this PI of this much, but when I look at the business you gave me at the end of the year, it just met the premium. So you will have to make sure that your client gives you business to cover that premium and more. You don't want to pay 35 million or 50 million, and then the client has given you business of 10 million. Yeah, you probably may have to fire that client. But, firing is a strong word, but if it doesn't work for you business-wise, you move on. But it gives you, and we're talking about what keeps us awake at night. Now you can sleep, You're not hoping that your people will be negligent or you come across a negligent issue within your practice, but you're saying, if it happens, at least we have PI. And we know that when you're faced with a malpractice claim, they are not common in our market yet, we thank God. And I recently was talking to a group of doctors, again on PI, on insurance, and many other things. The doctors are facing lots of claims on malpractice. And I think many of you in this room are representing maybe hospitals or the individual doctors. It's growing faster in the medical practice than in the legal profession. I looked in that room when they were crying. I said, God help the lawyers. The way it's growing in the medical profession is really fast. And very soon, the population sees this thing. The market catches, if we can take doctors, that means we can take lawyers. So it's something to think about as we are running our practices, save for that professional indemnity. Start small without you being forced by a client. In our case, I'm being honest, we're forced now by clients because we're chasing, some big clients, and so they had to throw us into some big premiums. But you could start exactly where you are and say, looking at my risks, maybe I can insure up to 100 million. Next year, 300. The other year, $1 billion. So that you develop that culture. So that it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle of the law firm for you.
Thank you, Ruth. Maybe one for Dr. Sheenah. With the increasing complexity and global insurance market and the rise of cross-border insurance products, how well do you think the current legal framework addresses the issues of jurisdiction and regulatory compliance?
Thank you. I think there's a lot that has been done in terms of improving the regulatory framework, and what's happening within the East African community points to some kind of harmonization or approximation of the legal framework, so that when it comes to having companies that can do business in the country, insurance companies that are doing business in Uganda, because you have some collaborations with Kenya, with Tanzania, and other East African community member states. But in terms of jurisdiction issues, of course, you're going to have issues coming from problems with claims whereby you're doing a transaction. Global value chains require things to be moved from one point to another. So you have things which have been moved, you have coffee which is being exported, etc., or things which are being imported into the country. So you have issues around where has this contract been entered into, which is the legal framework that's going to govern the contract. We now have a requirement, for instance, in relation to marine insurance, that as long as things are coming here, it needs to be insured within Uganda. So there are some few challenges here and there which still remain in terms of jurisdiction. Where has the loss occurred? Where has the contract been entered into? What's the governing law that you need to consider? And then, of course, the cost of legal representation would create issues if you're looking at foreign jurisdiction. So those might also provide opportunities for lawyers to see how they can partner with law firms in other jurisdictions to see how they can work in those areas. And then, of course, we have COMESA, because Uganda is also party to several other regional trade agreements, which brings in things that are coming from COMESA. We have some relationship with SADC, and then the African Continental Free Trade Area also creates opportunities where we are looking at liberalizing the entire market. So where this contract is entered into, again, there will be issues around where can you claim. And we've had some cases in relation to Uganda and Rwanda, transportation of goods and the like. So there'll definitely be still some issues outstanding on the question of jurisdiction.
Thank you, Doctor. That's a take-home for us in terms of the areas of, in terms of regulation that we need to address going forward. Members, I'm told there's another panel that is supposed to be coming in. I'm going to request our panelists to give us just in 1 minute each to give us their closing remarks in respect to the different presentations and conversations that we've had today afternoon. Thank you. I'll start with Joseph.
Thank you, Shadia. When I look across the room, I see potential consumers of insurance. If you are not already consumers, and we all agreed insurance is about risk management, so this could be about you, it could be about your child, your house, your car, your business. And what we are seeing traditionally is if you needed to enter into any aspect of insurance, you would have an insurer come to you and tell you, to insure this business, I would like you to, put up this and it will cost you this much. To insure your life, these are the packages that we have. Now, I am using that to bring about what technology is changing. Technology is coming in and saying, people are trying to pick up on this digital dividend and saying, I want this thing personalized. I do not want you to put me in the same basket. I do not want to consume insurance the same way Paul consumes insurance. I want you to think about me. So if I am going to think about you, I need to know about you. So how do I know about you? That means I must pick up some data sources around you. I must be able to, whether into your social media, into your mobile money consumption habits, into your banking habits, into who you talk to. Now I can see that when I mentioned that, I saw some faces change. That in itself creates some bit of challenges around what technology is able to create in terms of data privacy, in terms of potential hacks. Now, I want to conclude with the part of, let me use an actual story of something that happened. And this speaks to big data, analytics, and on this whole predictive modeling in the tech space. I know, and this is a true story, someone lives in London, is going on a holiday in the US. They are too big on fashion. They purchase a jacket, an LV jacket, those of you that are in fashion, worth about, they buy it for about £15,000. They travel to the US and they get involved in a struggle. This is a typical example that is given to us in the insurance circles, tech circles. They get involved in a brawl and the jacket goes, and their life is not the same. So for them, I want you to think about it. He's from the UK, he's in the US, the jacket has gone, he paid for insurance for it. He immediately goes onto his phone and reports a claim. My jacket that I bought, £15,000, is gone. What happens in the next 3 is a notification on his phone of £14,100 as a payment for the claim. Is that even possible? When you think about it, does it make sense? Now that's, when we talk about big data, when we talk about analytics, when we talk about tech, that's the kind of thing we are talking about. Now, because this person subscribes into what Francesca earlier alluded to, the Internet of Things. You have so many data points connected. The analysis that big data did, that artificial intelligence, machine learning did was, is this guy from the UK? Yes. We saw he boarded a plane. We saw he bought this jacket. We are actually aware from the GPS tracking he's in New York. We can see from the movement of his phone, the vibration of the phone, there was a brawl. So most likely, when we track back, we see that he's bought such jackets before. We see that he's a decent guy. He works for this bank. Most likely, he's not a guy that will lodge a claim that will be, fraudulent. And using that in a split second, they make a decision and pay a claim. Now, to relate it to what we are doing here from a legal point of view, usually business changes and we start saying the business is no longer working, quote unquote. There is no business. Business has moved. It has shifted to a new area. So the lawyers in the house, the claims process that you would have been engaged in, the contracting that you would have been engaged in that claim that I have just explained, moved somewhere else. There's a machine that is doing this. So I would like us to open our minds to where does that leave us, what we're having as the legal fraternity with the advent of technology. Thank you, Shadi.
Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you, Shadi, again. I just want to reiterate and say the industry is growing, and certainly this presents opportunities for all of us. Like I mentioned, that we do issue all risk policies unless excluded. Presents further for you, the lawyers. We know claims management, like I said, can be a challenge. That is already an opportunity for the lawyers. We are in a compliance regime that might stifle, the existence of some members. So again, mergers and acquisitions certainly will be at the fore. So in a nutshell, I can say that the opportunity for us to work together does exist. Insurers now are working closely with bankers, like never before, in terms of structuring these huge financial, contracts for large infrastructure projects. Again, there's always a legal tangent in there. And once we do it together, I am sure we're destined to succeed and create that environment where we can work together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Dr. Fiona?
My takeaway would be the opportunities which have become with the evolution of the dispute resolution mechanisms, that there are many avenues of resolving insured disputes, and so there are things for lawyers to do. There are many directives which are being made by the IRA, which would be good for lawyers to be knowledgeable about, so that they can help and support their clients in ensuring the compliance that is required by the industry.
This gives me an opportunity to request the IRA and maybe other stakeholders in the risk management space to join those of us that would like a disaster management and prepared commission set up under Article 249 of the Constitution. Seeing that we are a group of lawyers, we are very interested in our Constitution. But more importantly, really, that it's the only commission that has not been set up under that, under the Constitution. And if it were set up, you know, I hope more Prime Minister's office and other stakeholders don't misunderstand me. It is being handled in a very ad hoc manner. But if you have a commission that is set up to foresee, there is early warning signs, there is even technology, you know, to see disasters that will happen in a few months from now, in a few years from now. Other jurisdictions are able to see Typhoon Ruth will come in July next year. See, but we know Bududa happens every year. We know Kasese floods happen every year. But somehow we are surprised every year. So IRA for me, it's a clarion call. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. We have one burning question from the audience, and allow me, members, let's just take it. I kindly request that you brief, you keep it under a minute, so that the panelists can also be able to respond in under a minute before we close. Oh, we'll have him, and then we close.
Quickly, I don't want to take any time. I want to thank the panel for their insights into the subject matter. Mine is a quick one, and it relates to capacity. I've heard everyone talking about growth in size of the projects that we're seeing, and therefore the risk that is attached to those projects. I work for the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, therefore regulate the oil and gas sector in this country. And we've been negotiating several agreements, and what we've seen is questioning the capacity of our players in the country. And Mr. Kavuma is aware. I've worked with him severally. And the issue of capacity, and we've seen Ikogu come up, where people are partnering to be able to handle some of these risks. But what do you speak to the aspects of the law, since we are speaking to insurance law here, where you have, for instance, numbers stipulated in the Act, in the 2017 Insurance Act, where you say ZEPRI, Uganda Re, Africa Re will take up this much and this number with these very humongous projects, and they say these are billions of dollars that we're going to spend, and you'll have to take up this chunk, and then these players cannot take up what is stipulated in the Act. So what do we think about those aspects? And also rating generally. Someone comes and says the players that I need must be A+ rated, for instance, and these people are not anywhere near that. The Act says the primary insurer must be a local player. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's take the second question so that the panelists can respond to them.
All right. Thank you. I'm Frank, and my question is about fraud within the insurance sector. You realize that fraud has got a great knock-on effect on premiums, but I've not heard anyone talk about the processes in place or mechanism to mitigate the reoccurrence of fraud, which in effect. So what is the insurance family and the IRA doing to mitigate the increasing rate of fraud? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think Paul is ready to take it on.
On the capacity issue, which is probably the easier one, because I know we've worked closely with PAU and with the guidance of the regulator. Insurers for the first time sat in a room as 19 honorable ladies and gentlemen and aggregated their balance sheets to make sure that we do not confuse the international oil company with our different costs and array of products on oil and gas. Because first of all, oil and gas is a nascent risk to any of us, and none of us have the capacity to do so. So the only recourse we had, and to avoid premium flight from Uganda, is to get together through a consortium. And it was a well thought out process. It had a lot of legal intervention in terms of drafting that agreement for the members to get together. And because with different brands, different philosophies, different ethos, from home offices to local insurers. But we got the guidance from the regulator and also stipulated in regulation, which is rational. So for all we care, we can be a conduit for the premium, because we also know that the IOCs have captive reinsurance arrangements, and they will come and fix us and bully us. But we stand with the regulator. I need to get some brownie points here, because the regulator stood with us and the regulator prevailed over you, and we got to retain the risks through us, which was a huge thing. But what you say in terms of us marshalling up our capacity is something that work in progress. And we're actually talking to the regulator to re-examine our balance sheets and then increase on our retention. So if we are sitting pretty at about $5 billion now, $5 million now, I am sure by close of year or by mid next year, we'll have a capacity of $20 million, just for oil and gas, because that would be commendable in terms of strides that we've taken. Now on the fraud, again, as a practitioner, yes, it is a mid-stars. We can't be shy about it. I think we always make reference to the KPMG report, which was a 2018, whereby 20% of the premium that we earn, we paid back in fraud. So I don't want insurers to use this as a disclaimer that we're delaying your claim because we're examining fraud. No, pay the claim when you have to pay it. But to be honest, like my colleague here mentioned, the data analytics have showed us trends. Typical, every 3 months, something happens. We all pay school fees. And every 3 months, we have a glut of windscreen claims, lost mobile phones, laptops, CTC. Unfortunately, parents are coming to insurance to collect money to pay school fees. It's unfortunate. Post-COVID, businesses were recovering because of insurance. So we had to be critical. So fraud is a mid-stars. We have a fraud desk at the IRA. Even within the CEO forum at the UIA, we do share data. As at last week, we've got a culprit who had actually hit 2 insurance companies, and our company and my other colleague were at the verge of paying. So he could have smartly walked out with about $250 million. 250 million Uganda shillings in a space of 6 months. So we are collaborating to share information, but we are also improving on our systems using tech to make sure that we can weed this out. So fraud is live, and we are alive to it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. I hope he has exhaustively made responses to the question. Yes, Paul? Okay, that's good. Members, we've come to the end of our session. I want us to give a big round of applause to our panelists for gracing this insurance law session to tackle the issues of emerging issues and challenges. Thank you very much. The take home is at least from now, insurance are inseparable, and technology is the future, and there is need to embrace it. And also, there are so many opportunities within the insurance sector that as lawyers need to harness and make sure that we exploit all those particular opportunities for our future careers, and also improving on the existing. As lawyers, we can also come in to help to identify the existing regulatory gaps. Dr. Fiona rightly highlighted one in respect to cross-border insurance legal framework. This is a take-home and an area that we need to have a conversation further going forward. and also Ruth was able to clearly tell us an insight of the legal practice and the insurance and the